While winter camping in the Rockies recently, I had a couple of things I wanted to test out.
Well, it was a little cool last night, but it wasn't that bad. When I went to bed, it was about 10 degrees Celsius, which is about 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And to me, that wasn't cold enough to warrant starting up the wood stove, because I've got a nice warm sleeping bag and I was warm and cozy. I really didn't need any extra heat. I think tonight it's going to be a little colder, so yes, I will fire up the wood stove for tonight. But in the meantime, I wanted to talk about power. Most people probably know from my past videos that I use two 12-volt batteries. I use a deep cycle and an AGM, and they're hooked up to the solar panels that I've got on the outside of the trailer. And most of the time that works pretty good because I usually have enough sunlight, and like the last few months I've never had to charge up on a landline because I had enough power. However, if it gets super cloudy, if I'm camped in the shade, or if it's winter time like it is now and there's not enough sunlight during the day, then it doesn't always work as efficiently. And especially now, because like I probably have at best on a clear day 6 hours of sunlight, but the sun's low on the horizon, so that means that I'm going to get some tree shade anyway. I needed a third option, and it's something actually I've had for a while, but I just have been holding out on you. I haven't announced it yet, but the time has come to talk about that third option. And here it is. And if you're thinking it's 24 cans of beer, you're close. It's a cooler for 24 cans of beer. But what's in it is this. And this is a portable power station by Jackery. It's a Explorer 500. Now, Jackery was really generous. They saw my videos in the past and knew the problems I was having with power, and they sent this to me to review it, which is exactly what I'm going to do.
But I postponed the review until the solar panels arrived.
Now I have the solar panels, I can show you how the complete system works. But it is completely awesome. Obviously, I mean, this thing's light compared to my big monster batteries.
The heart of this power station is the lithium-ion battery rated at 518 watt-hours or 41 amp-hours. Although smaller in capacity than most RV batteries, it is far more efficient and charges faster. It's great as a standalone power supply. However, with a dedicated solar panel, it becomes more versatile for off-grid applications.
Turn it on, there's the light. Now, I've actually been using this since yesterday. Last night I plugged it in. I started off with a full 100% charge, because you can charge this using 110. So I started off with 100%, and I've been trying to actually get the power down. Well, I've got my computer, I've got a lamp, and I've got a battery charging. I'm trying to drain the power off this portable station as much as I can so I can get to 50%. But it's taking a long time. It's efficient. That's a problem if you want to drain a battery, but I want to drain it so that I can show you how fast it charges up. But I thought of something. Like right now, let me just turn that light on. It's all three together is draining 40 watts. However, I remembered that I was carrying this little portable hair dryer. This is a Conair. I don't know what kind it is, doesn't matter. But I think this is a 1200 watt hair dryer, and it runs on 110. Now, looking at the Jackery, it says right here 110 volt 500 watts. So it shouldn't handle 1200 watts, and I'm not going to try it. But what about the low setting? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to disconnect the laptop, and I'll plug in the hair dryer, and I'm just going to use it on low setting. And because this shows me the wattage as I'm using it, I can find out if there's an issue right away. So right now it's saying 11 watts, turn this on. And it's gone up to 220. So that's good. I can actually operate a hairdryer on that in low speed. Now that's a big advantage because having a little travel hairdryer, it doesn't take up much space, but especially if in an emergency, like for example, your hands get really cold and you got to warm them up, well, put it on low, can warm your hands up. There's something you got to thaw or something like that. My camera, if it freezes up, I can use that. If something gets wet, you know, if you got a spill and you don't want it to turn to ice, you can warm that up and dry it. That's a real advantage. And there's probably a way, and I haven't tried that, so I'm not saying do it, but you know, maybe if I could hook up a vinyl hose to this, I could run it into my sleeping bag and pre-warm my sleeping bag or my pants or whatever like that. So that opens up a lot of new possibilities. But for now, I'm just going to turn the hairdryer on just to get the battery to 50% so I can see how well it recharges.
In the meantime, let me show you how to use it. The interface is easy to use and the components clearly visible. The input is for charging with solar panels and has a blue light to indicate it's working. From the DC panel, you can recharge the power station with a 12 volt or 110 volt external source, or power up a 12 volt appliance up to 10 amps. The USB ports take 3 5 volt USB appliances rated up to 2.4 amps. The 110 outlet can power any appliance up to 500 watts. The LCD display measures watts generated, watts consumed, and the battery charge amount. Plugging my laptop into the Jackery, I can count on 13 to 15 hours of computer use. As the day wore on, the sky got a little hazy.
Well, it's noon and it's lunchtime, and somebody provided me this wonderful bench out in the wilderness. Thank you for that. But I got my lunch, and just so happens the only plate I brought is the same color as the Jackery, so I'm color coordinated. Now, it's not the sunny day I had really hoped. The sun is kind of like hazy. There's a little bit of a shadow, but it's not full sunlight, but it's what I'm going to have to test with. And in this position here, I probably only have maybe 2 or 3 hours that I'm going to be able to charge. But I've got the Jackery, and I brought it down to 49% charge. That should be enough to see what it'll do for at least a couple of hours. Now, temperature-wise, it's above freezing. It's about 2 or 3 Celsius, which is probably 38 degrees Fahrenheit, which is actually a little bit of a warm-up, but it'll get colder later on. So, let me introduce to you the solar panel that's dedicated to the Jackery Explorer 500 series. Nice, lightweight, whoop, and it's got these little Velcro supports, nice and compact. Inside here, got a cord and the instruction manual, and it's the Jackery SolarSaga 100, output 100 watts, 18 volts, which should be plenty. So we'll grab that because we're going to need the cord, and we're going to need to know where the cord goes. Okay, it says right there, DC out. So, slide that. Okay, maybe it's just push. There we go. And red to red, black to black. That seems easy enough. Now there is 2 outlets, a USB and I think a micro USB,
and an LED, which probably isn't doing anything because I haven't got it open yet. So, next step, open it up. And probably I opened it up upside down. Yeah, of course I did. Now, one thing I did notice, actually before I actually put it down, is the fabric. Here's the issue. Chances are, like right now, you're going to put it down in mud or dirt. This seems to kind of attract dirt. I'm kind of wondering if they should have had something that was easier to clean off, because this is like a fabric. It's got a texture to it, but we're going to give it a go anyway. So, down it goes. Bring that out. And bring that out. Okay, so easy to set up. It's kind of pointed to the sun. I'll probably adjust it. I just wanted you to see the panels. And the panels, they're not flexible panels. They're I guess it's a hard plastic. Seems pretty durable. Let's plug it in. Input, easy. Okay, it seems to be working. There's a blue light on there that's saying it's charging, but this isn't a good position. So I'm just going to move it out. Get the best I can. Let's try it there. It's at 49% right now, and input 17 watts. It's not the perfect day, but let's see what it does in a couple of hours. Rated at 100 watts, the SolarSaga 100 also has an excellent cell efficiency of 23%. 18 volts peak, 5.5 amps. It has a 2-year warranty and also works with lead acid batteries. Well, now that I've had lunch and my brain's working properly again, I kind of thought about it. Why should I have it set up by the trees anyway when I've got all this wonderful snow all over the place? So I just moved everything, put the charger on the stump, and in this position, instead of getting something like 20 or 22 watts, I'm getting 41 watts of charging. So I've doubled the amount of charging by just changing the position. And that's the nice thing about these. I can put them anywhere. That should cut the time down. It's 51% charged now. Well, there's a little bit of a problem. It got cloudy, so I didn't have a full 2.5 hours of sunlight. I just had daylight, which really isn't a lot. Like right now, I don't know if you can see it, press that button. It's 3 watts is all that it's generating right now. But the next morning, it was a lot better. Well, as you can see, it's an absolutely perfect sunny day. There's not a cloud in the sky. And I found a spot that had some snow around it. So this should be absolutely perfect for generating solar power. It was a better location, but I didn't have anything to rest the power station on, so I used my grill table for this. It's charging, and now instead of 41, which I got last time, I have 64 watts. That is perfect. I can probably adjust a little bit more and get it a little higher. Oh, it's bright. Some people may not realize the advantages of a northern climate, as solar panels are actually more efficient in colder temperatures. Add a little snow as a reflector, and you can easily get peak efficiency out of your solar array. That's pretty well the maximum right there, which is 66 watts. While I'm waiting for the power station to charge, I did a little bit of reading on the solar panels themselves. And they actually have a frequently asked questions, which is good. And one of the questions is, are the foldable solar panels waterproof? And that's an important question because people would use them. I certainly would expect to use them in the rain, in the snow, various conditions. But the answer, and this is interesting, the answer is to maximize the lifespan of the module, it should not get wet. So indirectly, they're saying, no, it is not waterproof. But I suspect it would take some moisture because you're going to use it outside. There might be a little cloud burst every once in a while, but I would not leave it in a torrential downpour or float it on a river or something like that as a raft. Obviously, there are limits. I don't think I have any problems with keeping it in the snow. It's just, you know, don't go too far. It probably doesn't have the seals. And, you know, if you think you're going to go hiking and you've left it and there might be clouds or a little bit of rain, leave it inside. Well, it's been charging a little over 2 hours. And as you can see, I'm in the shadow right now. So I'm going to get over here. You can just see the little tip that I'm running out of sunlight. It's getting in the trees. So how did it do in that 2 hours? It charged about 15%. Actually a little bit better than 15% in that 2 hour period, which seems right because according to the instruction manual, it'll typically take 16 hours to charge from 0%. But the thing is, it would be very seldom that you'd actually bring this down to 0%, because if you start off with 100, you know, if you leave home before you go out camping or whatever and you have it fully charged, then I would say in a typical day you'd probably only get it down to 70 or 60% charge, and then it would only be like, if it was 60%, you'd probably be looking at maybe 4 or 5 hours of direct sunlight to charge it up again. That's not too bad. What that means is whatever amount you use at peak hours, you should be able to gain back the next day. Now, just to show you, as I don't have, see right now it's at 44% because I'm losing some of the sunlight, but let me just put it right in the shade here. Right like that. I mean, that's partial shade, and that brings it to 7 watts. So even if it's a cloudy day or you only have shade, you're still going to get some power. So overall, I think it works great. Now here's a topic that maybe other reviewers might not have thought of, but it's security. Look at this. If you had to have this out in the sunlight all day, what happens if you wanted to go out on a hike? Imagine somebody prowling around campsites or wherever you are, looking at this and saying, hey, I want that. Fold up the panels, grab the handle, it's gone in seconds. Here's one solution I have for that. So here's my idea. Put the solar panel behind your windshield of the vehicle. That way it's secured, it's locked up, it's not getting the intense sunlight, but it'll still get some sunlight that it'll charge. And the power station is in behind it. It's all locked up, it's secure, you can go away and do some hiking. Now I know there's been a lot of great reviews about lithium batteries in general, and in particular about the Jackery. I think it's a very good power station. This whole system I'm really impressed with. However, there are limits and you should be aware of them. In looking in the Jackery user manual, it's the recharging temperature you should be concerned with, because the absolute minimum is 0 degrees Celsius, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, freezing. Now, fortunately, it is above freezing today. It's about 4 degrees Celsius, what's that, about 38 degrees Fahrenheit. So yes, I can charge it right now and not damage the battery. However, if the temperature dropped 10 degrees, I couldn't. So if somebody like myself wants to use a lithium battery in the winter time or during a cold spell, you may have problems. But for me, 38 degrees, 40 degrees, that's like t-shirt weather. As a matter of fact, yeah, a little bit overkill. It's time to get a tan. The Jackery solar panels have a much broader operating temperature than the power supply. They can be used down to -10 Celsius or 14 degrees Fahrenheit, up to 65 Celsius, which is 149 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, the sun's going near the horizon, so I'm not going to get a lot more charge, but it did really good in the short period that I was charging it. I'm quite impressed with it. I like the power station. I like that everything's out front. There's nothing you have to plug in from behind or anything like that. It's very easy to use. It's got 3 docking stations there for USB, 12 volt and 110. Easy to use. That's a bonus. And the same with the solar panels. Really easy to set up. So I'm quite pleased. But it doesn't mean I can't make a few suggestions. And here's one of them. This is how it comes out of the box. There is no case. So I think Jackery should maybe think of just giving it a little bit of protection, a little bit of case, because if you're using this and you put it in the back of your car, it's going to get banged around and scratched up and all that. However, I do have a solution, and that is a beer cooler. 24 can beer cooler like this actually fits the Jackery perfectly. Just zip that up, and there you go, and you've got a little pocket right here to keep the cords and all the accessories you need. And this is made by Outbound. I'll put a link in the description of the video if you want to check that out. But having a case, not only does it protect the power station, but it also insulates it, which means that if you have to go out in colder temperatures, then you can use it. You can probably use it a little bit at least, because you can retain that warmth. Now, of course, I like to use it with my trailer. However, you don't have to. You can just simply use it with a car. You can put it in the back seat, in between seats, in the trunk, or I like to put it right up front where I can use it. I can use it for my laptop, I can use it for my refrigerator, I can use it for charging, and it has nothing to do with my car battery. I have no issues with it going dead. However, when I'm actually traveling, I can use the car battery to plug it in so it's charging, and chances are when I get to where I want to go, it's already 100% charged. Win-win. If you just don't need, if you're all powered up and you don't need it for anything else, then perfect for a workout. I hope you enjoyed this video. Check out my other ones as well. Oh yeah, pumping iron. Or more accurately, pumping lithium. There's also many other features, so please check out the video description for more details on the Jackery power system. And please subscribe.